To episode 29 of the Roundtable Chronicles. So I'll give you a few minutes to settle down and come into the chat as our intro plays.
They told us the oceans were walls of silence, deep, dark, and empty, a void without end. For 10,000 years we stood on the shoreline, turned our backs on the horizon, refused to pretend that humanity never sailed, never dreamed, never wondered. That cultures grew lonely like islands alone, but the gyres kept turning, the trade wind still calling, and the old maps were written in salt and in stone. Oceans are artery, not walls between us, highways of courage where the brave always meet. From the first Paleolithic canoe on the water to the last star-guided raft crossing the deep, we are mariners, children of wind and of current. One single people who refuse to stay still. The silence is breaking, the dogma is falling. The earth has been speaking through every wave's thrill. Cedar fleas rounded the Cape long before Caesar. Follow the Canaries where the current runs west. Skin bolts of the north rode the same endless river that carried the Norse to the vineyards and rest. Sweet potatoes spoke in the same tongue in two worlds. Chicken bones whispered of voyages done. Pyramids rose where the same stars were watching. Serpents and feathers told tales of the sun. Oceans are arteries, not walls between us. Highways of courage where the brave always meet. From the first Paleolithic canoe on the water to the last star-guided raft crossing the deep, we are mariners, children of wind and of current. One single people who refuse to stay still. The silence is breaking, the dogma is falling. The earth has been speaking through every wave's thrill. They built empires of fury on never before us, called contact or crime against science's law. But maze crossed the water, tobacco left traces, jade mirrors remembered the faces they saw. Inside the Americas, rivers were highways, Indian roads were like a thread through the sky. When Socorro sailed east on his serpent, I promised the ocean was never a question of why. No more false stories, no more convenient boy, no more manifest destiny that history employed. The past is not static, it flows like the tide, and every horizon was meant to be tried. We are not prisoners chained to our shoreline. We are the sailors the sea always knew. One human heartbeat that crossed every ocean, one ancient promise that still rings true. Oceans are arteries, not walls between us. Highways of currents where the brave always meet. From the first Paleolithic canoe on the water to the last star-guided raft crossing the deep, we are mariners, children of wind and of current. One single people who refuse to stay still. The silence is broken, the old lie is falling, and the air sings again to every wave fills. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da. Oh, da 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 da.
Here we are.
Hello again. Hello again, several of you. Sarah, tell
Greetings, Earthlings.
Greetings.
So
Hello.
little T, we said goodnight. Rick, Vincent, how are you, gentlemen?
Hi, good evening.
I'm well, thank you. And you?
I'm doing very well. I'm gonna hand it over actually for a moment because Ricardo and I just wrapped an episode, and I have rice on the stove, some yellow rice, which I need to finish tending to, not because they can't handle it, but if I'm not in there when the timer goes off, I don't think I'm gonna get any, and so. You know how it is with daughters. So I'm asking them, I'm like, as I'm pouring in the measuring the quantity of water to boil, I'm like, so yellow rice, you don't want any, right? No, no. Fucking as soon as I pour that shit
Yeah.
in, it starts to boil. Oh, it was that rice. Yeah, Yeah, it was this. Get back. Yes, it was that rice.
Go away now.
Own. Bye.
Thank you, Screwdriver. So, what news do we have?
So, Vincent, you've had a busy week.
Yes.
Yes, busy week this week. A lot of good information and news that came through. Got the FOIA response from Illinois. And so they sent two big pieces of information, over 1,400 pages of information about Cahokia Mounds. And there's an additional 1,200 more to come on Monday. And so the 1,400 pages included around 600 pages pertaining to the Interpretive Center Museum, and the other pages were about the Monk's Mound repair or slump excavations, and that was what happened in 2007. And so they have some really interesting revelations in both sections. The Monk's Mound repair overall proceeded on a permit that said no adverse effect would be done to the mound, basically saying we're not going to impact the mound. But they knew it was a mound, and they had some stipulations in there to only dig within up to 2 feet deep on the terraces, and they were trying to repair the slump. Well, it turned out they dug 7 foot deep across the eastern slope. They dug in 3 areas, and they dug on the northwest and on the western side of the mound. Some of the mound had been covered in tires. They actually found sections of tires that were tied together or wired together with metal wire as a earlier repair method or slump control method. At some point they put rubber car tires all over the mound, and when they dug this up,
it was often. It was actually a erosion control method that was promoted by Purdue University for a while. Turns out it doesn't work nearly as well as they thought it would.
Wow, yeah, that's interesting. And they said this happened in the 70s, like from anywhere before 75 to 77, as a slump repair method. So, but the overall synthesis of the report is that after the slump, after the work, they were supposed to continue monitoring it, and they didn't. They just haven't monitored it at all in the last 20 years. And when they signed off on the no adverse effect permit, they changed the wording in it to say there was no archaeological context here on the Monk's Mound. That it went from we're not going to impact the mound to there was no archaeological context where this work occurred. So they completely said this is not a mound or this is not an archaeological site, and they omitted.
So what is it to them?
But they had like weasel wording to omit anything discovered during excavations. So literally they said this is not a mound, but we're not considering anything we dug up here during the excavations. And so they left it with that kind of wording. And it was like, wow, that's incredible.
So were the tires on the western side, middle western side?
Yeah, the tires were on the middle western side.
Okay. So that result, that erosion might have been a result of when they knocked down the smaller part of the mound that was on the central western top side.
Right, because there's good evidence that there used to be a round top mound over there. They pushed off the mound. I mean, they like excavated and pushed it off the side of the mound. So there used to be a 10-foot tall round top mound on top of the monk's mound, and it was pushed off that side and then converted to a roadway that they tried to build a roadway up the side of the mound. They used it for
Yeah.
horse and buggies to get their their horse drawn carriages up to the top of the mound for a long time. When through the 1800s there were people living there, and
it's called Monk's Mound because there was a monastery on it for what, 70
right.
or something like that.
Yeah, they had a monk monastery that they built on the mountain called the Order of La Trappe monks, and they actually built a monastery on top of the mountain.
Trappist, yeah.
And
but what none of the archaeologists or historians or most of the researchers have ever concluded from the construction is that it was meant to hold water.
That's right.
And by trying to drain it, they have ruined that aspect of the mound.
Well, the other thing I found out about is when they put down these rubber tires, they put plastic sheeting down before they put the rubber tires down. So I think what was happening was that it wasn't having the proper drainage it was designed for. It was holding more water than it was supposed to by the plastic sheeting being used.
Yeah, but the plastic sheeting will create an isolating between the upper and lower areas and make the area on top to slide even with the tires because it's on top of plastic.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's completely idiotic. What kind of engineer thinks that will going to work?
Yeah, it's absolutely terrible.
It wasn't an engineer, it was an archaeologist.
Yeah. The archaeologist. Yeah, this was something that they did back in the 70s, and they called it an undocumented effort to repair or slump repair, but it was obviously not successful. And the other thing that was really
Probably worse than it.
They found there was a study done on the colors that they found in the mound, and there were over 85 color patterns, monthly color chips found in different areas or localities on the mound. So they had a professional study done to record the different colors of soil that were excavated when they started digging out these slopes. And the colors ranged from everything from red to blue, purple, yellow, white. I mean, all different colors. And these Munsell color chips that they recorded, they each encoded the colors found in the excavations. And well, they were different from different locations. And the evidence points to what Rick had determined years ago, that a big majority of them come from Indiana. And none of them are local. They are in the same river system, but none of them are local. They would have had to travel over 200 kilometers to get the soil from Monk's Mound, at least
120 miles.
200 kilometers. Yeah. And that's the minimum distance. The other soil colors came from North Carolina, South Carolina, Louisiana, and even British Columbia. And
I still think there might be some there from White Sands, New Mexico, but I could be wrong.
Yes.
Well, you've been right before.
Once or twice.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I wanted to share my screen to kind of show a pattern representation of what I think it looked like on the mound, because it's really amazing to see the color patterns and to visualize it. And I put together a depiction of the mound with the actual color patterns on it. And and that they actually they well represent snakeskin patterns or clothing, like a clothing pattern that they would have used to design a color pattern on the mound itself.
Please do.
Okay, just saying. Okay, so this is a depiction of the mound and colorized with the color pattern. So I mean, if I show the fabric colors, well, this is just all random color patterns. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so the patterns, if we look, I can scroll here to show what it would look like if each of the different sides had a different color pattern. But these are indications that, I mean, that they found all these colors on the mound, and they were very distinctive, and they have noted here where the failures occurred that were excavated. So these failures were actually closer to the base and on the sides of the mound, where they on the west failure and northwest failure, where they initially found that. And
Is this the mound morphology that you are showing? Is it accurate?
this, well, see, this is what it actually looks like on a scale. But I did a vertical um, increase to show, like, if you multiply the height by 3, that's what it would be like. So this is like what it actually looks like overall. This is 22 million cubic feet. But if I increase the vertical axis by 3, that's what just to show the overall different terraces. So this is the front of the mound. The
But
first terrace.
before he exaggerated, that mound is still 105 feet tall. And at one time it was 125 feet tall.
125. Okay.
So yeah, we're looking
30
at
meters plus, so 6 stories high plus.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a really tall mound, and I mean it's enormous. It's the world's largest pyramid according to the record. I mean, there's no other pyramid that's larger in cubic feet. There are pyramids that are taller, of course,
And
but
people are screaming, "No, the Great Pyramid is much bigger." It isn't. It just isn't.
it's actually not. This is the largest pyramid in the world.
In footprint. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the
Maybe-
footprint of Monk's Mound is what, 13.85 acres or something like that, whereas the Great Pyramid is just under 13.
Yeah, I think we are not taking in consideration the possible Bosnian pyramid, but that is one is debatable as natural and just excavated under. So
That's true. I didn't consider that one, but that's possibly larger. So anyhow, this is showing the exaggerated scale of what it would be 3 times the height, but with a colorized pattern. These are actual Munsell colors that they found in the mound, and I used it to show what it would look like if it had decorations or using the colors found on the mound. And with the Muskoke pattern, this is actually a snakeskin pattern that they would have used on outfits or clothing that the Muskoke tribe wore.
So they spread the soil in those forms, making those interlay those patterns. Is that what he's saying?
That's my hypothesis. I mean, I'm saying that it's hard to tell now because of the way they dug it up with backhoes, but these are the colors that were found dug up. And the actual pictures show that the colors were used throughout the mound in varying thicknesses and varying locations.
That's fucking awesome. I love the way, Vince, you just casually snuck in there. Because they dug it up with backhoes? No, I'm sorry. That really tickled me.
Well,
That
it's
was well
true, though. I
presented.
mean,
I
you
know,
can't do
that's why
archaeology.
I'm
if you use the
laughing.
back.
Yeah,
I
it's hard to
know,
tell.
because it's truth. And Vincent says it so, it was quite well,
Yeah, it's like it's hard to tell what it looked like anymore, but
Right.
since it was-
But
Right.
Jason, what do you mean? Isn't that the normal archaeological procedure to go with a backhoe and just?
That's not what I expect to hear
Number-
when we're looking at a
Number 2
stratigraphy
trowel
map
is a
for the
normal one.
world's largest mound. I don't expect to hear that. Yeah, it looks this way because of the bulldozer. No, that was funny. That's why I laughed. Not exactly what.
Well, just that small part does. But
I mean, I know the
and
Great
I would
Pyramid
argue that
had,
it looks that way because of stupidity.
what do they call it? Mammut's hole, which is how you get into it now. Because Mammut, however many was 300 years ago, I don't even know, but he decided there had to be a way in, so he just blew a way in. Yeah, it sort of sounds like that
Yeah.
type of archaeology. Yeah.
But what did you say, Rick?
And
'Cause I
any
didn't
way you
get
want
it.
to look at it, he got very lucky.
He did. He did. They still use the entrance today, right? I mean, but he did
Well,
get
and it
lucky.
hasn't
He
collapsed
did
on
pick the
anybody.
right side. Yeah.
So how was the monastery removed?
So they excavated that and found the remains of the monks' monastery, and it's called the River Laab Monastery, and it was found to contain brass bells and there were inverted turtle shells. That this was found in the mound. I mean, it had been, I guess it was burnt down in the 1700s or early 1800s, and so there's evidence that it was burnt by a fire, and it had been just the post pits were found left in the mound.
So it was a wooden monastery.
Yes. And
And it probably or almost certainly replaced an earlier wooden structure that was used by the natives, or maybe 2 or 3 generations of them.
right. And so this shows the no adverse effect decision of the permit, and how they changed that to nothing existed at all. So initially in 2007, the site said, we're doing this work based on an undertaking that we will not adversely affect the site or the mound. So they were acknowledging that it was a mound, that they were trying to do a slump repair. They took these backhoes and started digging it up, and they dug 7 feet down into the mound. They were only supposed to dig no more than 2 feet down, and that was supposed to be kept at an absolute minimum. Well, they dug 7 feet down into the mound, and the site said they did so because they couldn't get down below the slick and slide, or the slip face of the mound. So I guess when they were up there with backhoes, it was sliding away. So they kept on digging. Then in 2010, January 20th, 2010, they changed it. They said there's no significant archaeological resources present within this area. They literally denied the fact that it's an earthwork and a mound.
Aside from the gigantic pyramid that is supposedly the largest in the world, there is no archaeological evidence of anything there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. They said it's not considered an archaeological location. They denied it at being an archaeological site at all. And they went from no adverse effect to not even a significant archaeological site present.
So why having a park there?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's really sad and destructive.
So, but does this mean they're going to close the park because it's no longer an archaeological site?
Well, they did. I mean, they literally closed the park for years, and it's still closed today. Sadly, it hasn't reopened. I mean, they have been posting news articles, and they still have not officially reopened the museum.
Oh, the museum. Yes, I saw I've seen several posts. I know Mound Lore posted about that, and you.
I was lucky enough to be there while the visitor center was open and I'd say fully stocked. But that was before NAGPRA actually kicked in. I don't know what they've got left, if anything, but a lot of the stuff they had on display could obviously be interpreted as sacred relics. So yeah, that probably should be returned. But I'm not sure why that negates the ability to make replicas and display those.
Yeah,
me neither.
They had
an abundance of caution. Yeah, I don't understand it either.
they had a Birdman tablet on the site at one point, and it was supposedly a replica, but they took that off display too.
Yeah,
So
I have visited so many mound sites that used to have a glass window where you could look at the bodies. Yeah, I don't think that's right either. But to go completely zero science on it is counterproductive.
well, if we don't display relics of imbued with sacred or sacred objects, as is declared in NACPRA, if we don't display them either as replicas or as originals, and I understand that the originals they want it buried again, that's fine, but at least we create some replicas. How can we interpret the future finds? If we have less and less representations of what was, how can we interpret in the future what we have found?
Are there going to be future finds? Are you going to be allowed to
No.
dig? I
Oh,
if
now we're getting into the politics. Do you want
I
to hear my
mean-
version of this or what?
okay, yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Because I'm chomping at the bit. They don't want us to know how to interpret any of this.
Right.
We might get the wrong idea.
Right.
But the question is, who doesn't want? The government, the indigenous tribes, the archaeologists, who doesn't
Some of
want it?
Some of each, yeah.
So,
Not very much the archaeologists, but some of each.
Some power. I agree. It
But
seems to
mostly
be what-
government. Do you think that the natives got Congress to pass a law? Seriously? You know how often or how likely that is?
Very
So
unusual,
I heard the
sure.
president, the current president, and again, outside of just politics, this just caught my ear, right? Again, I don't even watch news, y'all. TV was on.
The
It was a
sad
holiday.
part, the truly sad
fourth,
part.
they
I know
said
I'm eating
that-
into your
go
time
ahead.
here,
No, you
Vincent,
take
but
the
I'll
whole
get
thing.
back to this.
We were just going to conversate on this, but the president
terms
said we're
of
not
NAGPRA
allowed to say
currently-
stolen land.
Forbid descendants from further decorating graves, which is, a multimillennial tradition. But you can't do it now. It's a felony.
So you're telling me that indigenous people cannot decorate their ancestors' graves? Is that what you're telling me?
Not in the traditional ways, no, because it involved petroglyphs and paint. You can't modify anything.
So
That's
Christians
bullshit.
can create whatever kind of graves they want and decorate it the way they want, but indigenous peoples can't?
Well, yes and no. Christians typically don't decorate a whole hillside, but it's a little different.
Yeah, but if the guy was passionate by planes, they can make it the tombstone like an airplane, or they can put a statue there. They can put whatever they want according to their.
Ricardo, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I've just been playing with mute, making sure. That's all I needed. Thank you.
And I just want to address one question from the chat. It says, Screwdriver is asking, I thought that Cholula covered 45 acres at the base.
Well, you mean
The one
Cahokia?
in Mexico. No, the one in Mexico.
Oh,
That is the largest in the world. I believe he's correct on that. I think Cholula. Yeah, Cholula, like the hot sauce. Cholula.
I'm not sure. I'd have to check that.
I don't
Yeah,
know. I know there's a bigger than the Greater Pyramid in South America. I don't know if that is the one, but I know that.
check it, Vince. You know how to spell it. It's like the hot sauce.
Yeah.
The hot sauce Cholula. Yeah, it's really good sauce.
Let me see what Steve placed here. This is not what I thought I was sharing.
Or
is it?
Steve, you Cholula. But yeah, I do. My memory
It's
says
this
that's
one.
correct, and that doesn't mean it's right.
12
Well,
after
that sounds right.
12.8 million in renovations, the building party reopened again. The building, I couldn't read it all.
50
The
acre
building
base.
partially reopening in June 2026.
Yeah, this is interesting.
12.8 million in renovations.
Yeah, 12.8 million. They partially reopened the building. They had planned to have a full reopening, but then came the day to reopen it and it wasn't ready. So they only opened the lobby and the gift shop. And the museum at
Of
proper
course.
is taped off, and it says closed for renovations. So
Yeah, he's saying that no historical or archaeological artifacts are currently on display, but modern indigenous fine arts and crafts are heavily featured. And the
yeah,
Cholula has a 50-acre base. It's Steve saying it now.
Yeah, it's a mountain.
yeah. So yeah, I'll check that. But as far as the museum and the lack of being opened after spending $12 million, there's a lot
In
of
what? In what? In backhoes?
what did they spend it? It's an amazing question, because all they really needed to do
Good question.
was to fix the air conditioning and the lighting,
Oh,
and,
then it's 12 millions. Yes, of course. Air
and
conditioning.
they
But
didn't even fix that.
you've forgotten the main part. The main expense is it's in the state of Illinois.
Yeah, and in the FOIA request, they bid this to 13 contractors. The one that won it did not fill out their pre-qualification paperwork.
But it did on relations
Yeah, I think it was on relations, like they're
and,
buddies, but they're
and
best buddies.
acquaintance.
Their acquaintance, right? So, in other words, they awarded this to somebody who was not pre-qualified, and the contractors that were qualified didn't get the work, and that's illegal. I mean, that's highly illegal to award a non-pre-qualified contractor.
So
It's
and can't the public expose these things and ask for a
Family first, though. Thank you. Just chat, guys. Go ahead, Ricardo.
can't the public ask for a, I don't know how you call it, someone goes there and check their books?
Yeah, and that's what's happening. See, currently they've done 2 news releases. First Alert for Lauren Traeger did a FOIA follow up, and News St. Louis Public Radio, Will Bauer did a recent article about it. So I wrote them with some information here, and I asked them for their investigation, or thanked them for their investigation, and then told them what I found out about it from the FOIA request. And in fact, the contractor did not fill out their Form 255 qualifications from the 13 competing firms. They did not fill out the pre-qualification paperwork. So in other words, they awarded it to someone who was not a qualified contractor.
Is
And
there
they
a,
spent
they
over,
justify it in some way?
yeah, they can't. I mean, it's illegal. It's statutory law that they have to have qualified pre-qualifications to be awarded. And so this is a real, illegal controversy here that could, amount to major lawsuits, and it's obviously not open yet, and they were awarded the work in 2019.
Vincent is not suicidal, okay? He is not suicidal. He is happy with his position and status in life and wishes for it to continue. That's my take so far, Vincent, on your hard-headedness on pointing out precisely what occurred and did not occur here at this site, man. And Thoth, thank you, bro. Family first, always.
So tell me, do we know, or is anybody claiming this mound as belonging to their tribe or their ancestors? Is there any tribe claiming
Well, yeah, the Osage,
cultural relationship to this mound? Any?
the Osage claimed the mound properly.
The what? Sorry?
The Osage claimed the mounds.
Osage. Is that the name? Osage?
Yes.
So
Yes.
NACPRA can return to them the bones, the artifacts that are imbued with the sacred or of sacred nature, but they don't give them the control of the mound. Is that it?
They don't. The Osage don't have selective. I'm sorry. They don't have individual or totalitarian control of the mound. They have a say, don't get me wrong, but they don't have control. So if there are questions of, for instance, if some researcher, qualified researcher, has a question about certain remains or certain artifacts, objects, that question can be relayed to the tribe, and then the tribe can decide whether they want to answer that question. They don't usually.
They don't usually, yes.
But they'll be the tribe that goes first on reclamation of remains or objects.
So do you think that when they were told we are going to take this many feet of the mound that we already filled with plastic and tires, they didn't answer, or they didn't get the question?
They didn't get the question at that time. At that time, NAGPRA was not abided. It was not compliance, especially by Illinois.
But respect was.
But pardon?
Respect was. It doesn't need NAGPRA to have respect.
Well, that's true, but we're talking about the state of Illinois. They never had respect. Correct me if I'm wrong, Vincent.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. They didn't have respect. They never asked. They never asked the permission. They just took it, and they did all this without permission of the tribes. They didn't, request input on anything.
Yeah, but if they could continue to do this every 2 decades, in 4 generations, there is no park, there is no mound, there is nothing there.
Well, it's currently closed. I mean, the museum's closed. They have the park that's open to walk around in, but they've closed the museum. I mean, it's terrible.
Well,
So
for
is
$12
there
million
any
later, and we have less mound and less museum.
a closed park,
Got
but
it.
we have a
Okay.
gift shop.
Oh, so we have a revenue stream. Understood.
We have a
Okay.
gift shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So we charge
So-
people to go stand on top of the thing we took some away from, and we sell them
No,
trinkets.
no. Actually, you can walk up there for free, but the
good,
museum and the diorama that was actually pretty well made, and a lot of that other stuff, which included pelts that were dried and stretched and used for trade, to represent real pelt. They had them hanging in the gift shop. They probably still have that. They also had things like taxidermied bald eagles and taxidermied beaver and things like that in the museum because they were important to the tribe. Which, by the way, it's illegal even for a government entity to have bald eagle parts. Another bullshit rule. But the natives can. Let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, you can walk around in the park. You're not supposed to have a camera there, at least not a professional grade camera. I was informed of that. It's like nobody in this outfit is getting paid, lady. So to call it professional would be an absolute lie.
They wouldn't allow pictures in the museum before. They said you had to have a photo permit to take pictures.
Yeah, issued by the
weird.
state archaeologist office.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
Look,
It sounds,
Yes, I'm
reminds
very
me
well
of
aware of that. And the same is
diorama
true.
at
It's not
Moundsville,
just
but I
at
don't
Mark
know if
Mound. The
that's
same
even
is true
still
at all
open.
state parks.
sorry, you have to talk one at a time because I didn't hear any of you. Rick, it seems you started a second sooner. Go ahead.
Yeah, go. Yeah.
All right. It's not just Monk's Mound. It's all the state parks and other state-owned outside activity places that ban both cameras and drones by anybody. Big cameras. You can use your cell phone. You can use a little cheap-ass 4K camera, but you can't use, what we use.
Like in Pilot Mount, where
Anyway,
when we had people there filming, we knew that we can't have professional grade cameras on Pilot Mountain. It's just a natural park. It doesn't They don't think it has any artifacts going around or any structures or anything. So that's interesting. Jason, you were saying?
No, no, I was just it was just a thought that the diorama they're describing reminds me of the diorama in Moundville, which I don't know if has survived this, if it's still open. It was again, Steve, I guess you could tell us, but it was, gosh, 4 years ago, I guess I made it. And I think I'd heard Greg Little or somebody insinuate that it had since closed as well because of all these same problems. It sounded just like the one you were describing, the taxidermied birds, and it was beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
it was free, but it would have been worth, a few bucks. It was really nice the way they tried to bring it all to life for you.
Well, and in some cases, for instance, Angel Mounds in southern Indiana, they did it in a fashion that as you walk through, you got the idea of this is who we think was here. And they weren't just here, they were also there, and there, and all the arrows come back and it all intertwined. I'd almost bet anything you won't find that in any of the new museums once they reopen, because it's too much like they were civilized. They had a trade network that spanned a continent or maybe a couple or three continents. They had boats that could go from the Yucatan Peninsula to the coast of Louisiana in 3 or 4 days. They knew where they were going too, and they could carry, a couple 1,000 pounds of cargo in that same seagoing canoe. So the museums, if they want to be realistic, have to revamp to those ideas, or they'll just tell the tale the government wants them to tell. More color schemes.
Yeah, these are the actual color schemes.
If they want to keep getting government money, they will, Rick. I mean, it's pretty much that simple.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
See, on the mound, when they excavated, they found each of these color schemes in different areas of different locations at these particular Munsell colors. So these are the fabric studies to show what they would look like in different swatches of color. It's just incredible, the variety of color. And the interesting thing is, these are non-local. I mean, none of these come from the Mississippi floodplain. So they had to go and get these from far away. And there's an additional piece of information
that's
correlates.
A very interesting feature that I was not, generally aware of, Vincent.
Yeah, these are all the colors found on the mount, and
that they had to go far, sort of far away. That's very. Thank you.
So, right. Jason, does that red look real familiar to you?
It does. It's what we would call, locally, you know it as Alabama clay, kind of. Usually in more of the white and gray is usually a bit stronger and more prevalent than the oranges or the orange red, sort of almost ochre color. But there's
also
good,
North Georgia.
There's good pockets of that stuff around here, man. It's beautiful, and they make
North
guys
Georgia,
in
and
audience.
the bright yellow ones, northern Wisconsin.
They make figurines and ashtrays, the gamut out of that stuff.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. And they also found evidence that not only are these different colors present, but they found in the excavations tiny seashells that were like fossilized shell and chenopodium and spore. Like there were spores that were from fossils. These fossils were attributed to marshland that would have had to been excavated by divers. So that means the Indians would have had to dive down in the water and take the soil up from a submerged area, which had these fossils in it, and the color then would have come with that, with the fossils in the soil.
Huh. And all of this, you're, to make sure I'm following, done deliberately at Cahokia to what? Represent the far reaches of the territory, or what they knew, or where they could go?
Yeah,
so sacred places to them.
all the sacred places that they brought the soil from came to the mound, like they were creating the world with
Right,
their
like it was coming there. Oh, I see. Ah, yeah, through creating their world. I see.
right. They were,
Allegedly, because there's nothing to see there, apparently.
yeah,
Well,
because
I'll offer I would like to offer an alternative view of that because I don't think everything was ritualistic. I think part of it was a form of tribute.
yeah.
We're giving you part of our land.
I understand that.
Govern us fairly.
It's still kind of spiritual, but
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes hand in hand, but I totally agree with you. That's a very interesting aspect that it could most certainly be.
And
Yeah.
so, and also there's mythologies or there's legends like Nanabojo and how the otter dove down in the mud to create the world and brought back mud from deep under the water in his paw. And the otter died when he reached the surface of the water. Nanabojo took the soil from the otter's paw and created North America with it. So that was a real tribal legend of the Algonquians called Nanabojo. Then there's the Cherokee. They had the water beetle, which was similar. They created the world from the water beetle diving down in the water, getting soil, bringing it up back up to the surface, and creating the world. And and then the Ojibwe, they have a similar legend as well. The Earth Creator, the Earth Bringer, wished the world into existence through bringing the soils in different colors to create the world. And so these tribes from far apart had similar types of stories where they created the world by bringing soil with them and making the world exist.
Uh, Soil flags. That's a good one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Screwdriver is saying that Newark Earthworks has all types of soils also.
Yeah. And even Moundville, like all the mounds, when they excavate mounds, they'll often see these different colors of soil used to build them. So this wasn't something that was unique to Cahokia. It's like that everywhere. They intentionally brought the soil from far away.
So
They
have you
did
calculated how
Well,
many
and the
baskets?
effigy mounds.
Go ahead, Rick.
Sorry, Ricardo.
I was just asking if you know
The
how many
effigy mounds in
baskets.
Wisconsin. Oh,
Rick,
Vincent
go.
has a number on how many baskets. Okay, my turn. Um, the effigy mounds in Wisconsin and Iowa, and actually a few other places, almost always had a base that they would remove the soil in the shape they were going to make their effigy, and then they would bring in a white, very fine sandy soil to make a base on which they would then build their effigy mound. They only did this from about 800 AD on, according to most interpretations. But the similar construction techniques and design techniques would be employed in Monk's Mound, which was started in about that same time, come to think of it. Anyway, go ahead.
No, you see, the problem here is that I think you have a delay of 1 to 2 seconds. And so when you're speaking, we didn't hear you speak first, and then we speak on top of you because we haven't heard that you start speaking because you have a tiny delay. And that's what happening. I just did that question. How many baskets that were? That's all.
How many basket loads? Well, there's 22 million cubic feet. Each basket load would be about 4 cubic feet. I mean, there would be 4 basket loads per cubic foot. So you can safely say around 80 million basket loads were used
Four
to build.
times 22. Yeah, 88 million.
And
Thereabouts.
these are the color. If I take the color patterns that were found and then apply these to Muskogee, Cherokee, Yuchi clothing, these are the actual overlays of the mound and what it may have looked like. So what I've done here is taking clothing patterns from these tribes and showed what it would look like on to have the overlay of those on the mound using the colors that were found on the mound. Just as a comparison, that it really shows the amazing variety of colors that were found on the mound. and that they could really correlate well to tribal clothing patterns. And so the Yuchi had lighter colors like this. These are all colors present in the mountain. The Cherokee, the Creek, and Muskogee, and the one we saw at the beginning was this one, the kind of the snakeskin pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just amazing to see. And there's also evidence that they burnt the soil, like they purposefully burnt the clay at 38 feet all around the mound. So they were like baking it or burning it to be solidified clay.
That would make it water resistant on that layer too.
Yes.
Bingo.
And they found that in the soil cores that at 38 feet consistently that there was a burn layer of clay.
So is this all being denied now by the latest?
I mean, I haven't gotten any feedback from the site about this, but I just found out about it this week. I don't think that
if they're saying there's no archaeology there, there's nothing to be found because there's nothing there, then all of this is being denied, right?
Well, if they're going to answer him, they'll need another $12 million, you know.
Yeah. Well, right.
Minimum.
I had asked them for, for the response on whether they plan to continue monitoring this site. And they said they haven't, but they're putting it in the budget for 2027 or 2028. Now that I asked them. So they're going to do some studies on the slumping and like a LiDAR survey.
LiDAR or ground penetration?
LiDAR. They said they would do an elevation survey. And I asked them specifically about LiDAR. And they said, we're going to do that in 2027 or 2028, but we haven't done it since 2007. And as part of the criteria for monitoring this work, they were supposed to be doing it annually.
Does it cost 12 million to do that?
No. A survey is just
to make sure.
It's a fast survey that they could do by checking the elevation, like the slump, and they can use LiDAR, which is $5,000 or $10,000.
That was what, an HVAC system? What's that? Maybe a couple million tops. But yeah, 12 million's a lot, man, to not have anything open, running, and provided to the public, considering those were public funds.
You are forgetting the gift shop.
Yeah, the gift shop.
Yeah, but that revenue doesn't go back to the taxpayer, I would be willing to bet.
Well, I heard the original museum. The original museum only
if it follows the pattern of Illinois historical pattern, it'll cost you $1 to use the toilet.
Got it.
But having said that, the first time I was at Monk's Mound, I believe it was 1981, maybe 1980, and there was no building there. There was no museum. There was no visitor center. There was a signboard. And you know what? Everything that was on that signboard was accurate. There just wasn't very much of it. But when they finally did have a visitor center and the diorama, it was accurate. But the rest of it was shoved.
Hey, Sarah.
There was no new information. And that was in 2011 or so.
So this is just, I think, a clear case of abuse of power, negligence, total disregard from history and to cultural traditions of indigenous people, and still they are proud to follow NECRA.
I'm not far off from there with you, man.
Yeah.
They
Go
are
ahead, Rick. Go ahead, Rick.
they are required to follow NAGPRA. They must comply or they will lose their certification as a museum or whatever entity they are. It's
So
just the way it
is
is.
that why they're not open? Because they
Well,
think they're
That's
because
part
the
of it.
ambiguities around NAGPRA, so that it's like a liability almost to open, because you might infringe upon NAGPRA and you might lose your license. So I don't know.
well,
So
like
Without the relics, they have nothing to show. They have nothing to draw visitors without those relics.
Got it. There's just no museum.
except for that gigantic mountain, there is a mount.
Right.
Right. But if you want somebody to interpret that for you, you get one version and one version only.
So tell me, Rick, can you build a big house with 1.4 million?
yeah,
I can.
You can? You think you can put it
Yeah.
anything of the best there is inside, including air conditionings and all of that, right? The best utensils for the bathroom, for the
Tell you
kitchen.
what,
1.4 million.
Well
I think
under
you
just
that,
test that
depending on your
theory.
square footage, bro. Yeah, well under that. I mean, 250 to 300 a square foot will
so
get you
you knew the
quite a bit.
museum. So you think you could build a house the size of that museum with 1.4 million dollars?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, I
Yeah.
could.
Because they spend that
And
money on the roof.
yeah,
Yeah.
And the roof was already there. They were just repairing it. 1.4 million on the roof.
Around here, 300 or so
it's
a
a pretty
square
big
foot
roof.
output is going to get you, a pretty fucking nice pad in the end.
Just as a guess, I would have to guess that visitor center, as I saw it then, was probably about 15 or 16,000 square feet. So it's a lot of room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, give me that 12 million. I'll build a house that'll stand and
Yeah,
stay
12.
dry.
I mean, goodness gracious. Yeah, 12. You can do a lot. I mean, I've seen municipal buildings around here that we've got ones they say cost five around here, but they're just a shed. But you go in other small ones around here where they spend 3 or 4 million and still reproduce what you call a community center. I mean, a massive sort of open space like gymnasium type floor space, with AC, heating, cooling, and a kitchen, and a couple of little rooms off to the side, um, for 3 to 4
They
million.
can't because they're spending 11.4 million to update mechanical and electrical systems, including the AVAC system.
right.
Yeah,
And,
no.
and it's not, and it wasn't working. It's still not working.
Of
I
course, they didn't
smell,
have enough money. Only
I smell
11.4 million.
laundry. I smell laundry. Did somebody leave
Laundry,
the
money
laundromat? Yeah,
laundry.
yeah. It smells like laundry.
But there's a bigger problem that Steve just placed on the chat. That site is a UNESCO site.
Hmm.
And that's a huge
World
problem.
heritage. Yeah.
Because
A lot
once
more
it
what
gets that
bureaucracy.
label, you can't do nothing.
Well, it's a
Except
UNESCO
with
site.
bulldozers. I mean, you can do with bulldozers.
It's also a National
Yeah.
Historic Landmark and a World Heritage Site.
Yeah, bulldozers. No spades. No archaeologist spades, but bulldozers are good.
Yeah, that's why
No, they won't
they.
even let you do ground penetrating radar or electrolysis or any of the other non-invasive, basically non-invasive tests. You can't do
Right.
that.
You might
You
not
can't
damage
get the
something.
permit.
I mean, we got to get shit damaged. You can't have this technology that would not damage something. That doesn't make any sense. We're non-preservationists at heart, remember? We're the same nation that decided
Yeah.
to enact
Well, that's why we
laws
drill
where
holes in
the
the
culture
mound
couldn't be
instead of
practiced.
using non-destructive technologies.
I
So
mean,
it
it's
really
a
looks,
manifestation of the way that this country looks at this shit, I think, is really what we're seeing. That's part of the bigger picture Vincent is painting for us, is just yet again another manifestation of the way the system views this cultural heritage. for our current president, whatever you think of him, for me to hear the words in a speech, no one can say we live on stolen land. I won't allow it. Right? Okay. Well, that just to me is further from all the things you guys have taught me, an evidence of some deeper powers' desire to not have the advancement of the civilization that was here when we arrived known, and that's just very intriguing to me that to this day it seems to be very important to somebody, you know some power has very serious about this, and people not wanting to know what you guys are showcasing. And to me, Vincent, this whole Cahokia thing is just, it's like a microcosm of that. It shows in this one symptom. The symptom exhibits the disease, I guess, would be one way to say it here very well. That's all I see.
So
Yeah,
Screwdriver is offering a budget of under 1 million because he said he just did a skiff that I don't know what a skiff is, but 100 by 500, which I think is 50,000, right? Square feet. Is it correctly?
Hmm?
And the contract price for the Air Force is 1.5 million. So this is smaller because Steve just said this is a
Yeah.
33,000 square foot.
Yeah.
right.
So uh, I
Yeah,
think
there's
someone is making a little bit of money on
Well,
the
a
side.
public project is always going to be bloated. Okay. I mean, you expect that. If you're truly analyzing the budget, go, okay, it's going to be a little bloated, but this is far more than bloat. This is, where'd my money go, man? If I'm a taxpayer.
It's Illinois.
Well,
It's
The
look,
Dan
Illinois.
Ryan
Alabama
Expressway.
Alabama cannot brag any differently, bro, when it comes to especially the way they treat, the whole native situation as a whole, and have historically in comparison to, I don't know, even Louisiana, neighbors. It's very sad and it's very bad, and it seems very deliberate in many cases. Um, so it's a theme. It's a theme I've noticed too. That's for sure. You're not coming out of left field with that shit.
So one of the things that I saw on Facebook this week, which I found very interesting, was a report about a DNA study that said that Native Americans' DNA, mitochondrial and nuclear, had split from the rest of humanity roughly 35,000 years ago, which is kind of at difference with, Clovis first and almost everything else. But then I see, but the Algonquin speaking nations have X2 from the far eastern end of the Mediterranean. And some of the Patagonian tribes have, well, Southeast Asian strains. And so it wasn't just one migration. Nobody except North American archaeologists believe that one. Anyway, that's all I got to talk about tonight.
Well, the one of the two books that I expect to publish this year is about Pendejo Cave, and in case anybody is wondering, Pendejo means public hair in Spanish. But the cave has indications on 75,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago, and 30 to 35,000 years ago of occupation, including hundreds of artifacts, bones, inscriptions on bones, stones that were modified, and clear fires, right? So academics are looking into this, and this was dug by one of the most renowned archaeologists in the Americas. It's in fact the man that revolutionized how to dig through layers and how to classify them, how to do it properly, including in case of caves. He was the one who first taught everybody to do it not on one side but on two sides, so you can compare several sides of the same strata to avoid mistakes, to know, because on caves they go down, they go up, and then the strata goes thinner or goes wider, and you get wrong
Right.
ideas if you just do a straight dig, right? So after hundreds of artifacts on all of these strata, because 30 to 50% of those artifacts, some cases 70% of those artifacts were dubious, they exclude all of those that went to labs, that were peer reviewed, that were confirmed by external parties as of that age and of being of human make, right? They just put them to the side because there are some that are dubious. So to this day, the cave is still not recognized to have this 30 to 35, 50, and 75,000 years ago occupations, right? But the evidence still stands. The tests in labs, there is even a bone where they discover fingerprints of these people that were imbued into the bone, chemically recorded, and were recuperated in labs, right? Independent labs to confirm that it was actually a bone that has incisions made by man and even in fingerprints incision. The fires were rejected because there wasn't enough carbon apparently on some of them, but there are few that were more than confirmed. And there are stone tools that, because don't fit the models that they want from Clovis and etc., they don't accept them because they are dubious, although there are some that have been recognized by experts, geologists, that they are undoubtedly made by humans, right?
Can
But
you
because
can
of
you
those that are
explain what you
dubious,
mean by fingerprints? Just sorry, I'm not familiar with that, and it's
chemical
killing me.
chemical on the bone, there is more than one fingerprint that was
Yeah,
recorded on a bone of an animal that was
got it.
found on the layers, right?
Got it. Got it.
Chemical
Like it handled the
fingerprint.
dead animal and
Exactly.
got it.
Right.
Okay, thank you. For some reason I'm like etched. What? Okay,
This
thank you for
is high
clarifying.
grade high grade archaeology that I can't explain this to you, but the fact is they tested in the lab and they beyond doubt found that it is a human fingerprint or a remains of it that was chemically imprinted into the bone, and they could recuperate it and see the partial fingerprint in there, right? Apart from the incisions on the bone that are clearly done by taking the meat out of it, or even art in some cases, right? And the cave is still not recognized because there are artifacts that are dubious or natural. So because of the dubious and the natural, they exclude all of those that were confirmed. So this is the state of archaeology, my friends. This is how we are interpreting our past, right? Because you don't want to change it, right? Because Clovis, although it's overrun, it's still not observed. So we are talking at the beginning of this conversation about a man that did amazing work, that is Stephen C. Jett. He spoke of something that to me is completely new that I never heard, and it's that those kinds of evidence that we can't ignore. So they found that there are parasites on human intestine, right, that cannot survive the cold. So if men were crossing the Bering Strait, they would die in their guts. Okay? And they are on the bottom of the North American continent. And they found them in the South American continent. Parasites that had to come through water, through warmed environments. They could not cross the cold, otherwise they wouldn't be there. Right. And these are, I don't can't remember how many thousands of years, but it's like also 30,000 years or something like that. It's also very old. But then it will imply transoceanic crossings all the way back this old years. And we can't have that because people didn't have boats, right? Which is a complete farce. Right? So, and so I'm not surprised that they're doing this to Monk's Mound. I'm not surprised that not even the name of the actual mount is mentioned, because I'm
Ahoy,
sure
Jeff.
the indigenous people would have a proper name for the mound that is not Monk's Mound, exactly as we have on Skunk's Hill, whose name is not Powers Bluff. as Devil's Lake, whose name translated would be Spirit Lake and not Devil's Lake. And here we can see a completely inversion of what we're talking about, right? Because this pastor, this priest, decided that nothing good could come from these people, so it's not of the spirit. If it is a spirit, it's a devil. So it is Devil's Lake instead of Spirit Lake. And this keeps coming and coming and coming, and we see it more and more and more. And the more we dig, the more we find, right? And I'm sure that Rick and Vince have no much more examples than I do. So this, to me, it was new, this parasites, and I think it's an evidence that should be displayed everywhere. Everybody that is in archaeology should know this. Before you open your
Yeah.
mouth and say that we need people crossing the Bering Strait, shut the fuck up, because you don't know what you're
Yeah.
telling them. Forgive my
What
French.
So correct
Stephen
me
Jett
if
was
I'm
talking about
wrong.
was the work.
Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead.
It was the
Go.
work done by Carl Johannesson, and he identified, I believe it was 472 different species of animals and plants that couldn't possibly have migrated across the Bering Strait with humans, but they showed up with humans tens of thousands of years ago. So, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
No, I didn't have anything really to note other than I I asked this several times and nobody in the chat has really put me off yet. But I had heard several months ago, probably within the last year or so, that the latest data basically said that whatever land there was along that corridor, right, was not of either the size nor the temperate necessary to support anything that could have been called food for humans, right? So, therefore, the idea that this was used would have meant that somebody had brought their own food and had traveled really, really impossibly fast through this territory. That it's almost now physically impossible for it to be claimed. That's at least what I heard, and nobody's yet told me I was wrong about that. But so to me, that kind of
I'm
shuts
not
it
going to tell
down.
you you're
You
wrong.
know, if that's the truth, then that kind of it just shuts it down. And I don't understand now why the thought processes of people can't evolve with it.
Well, that's because they don't use logic, they use feelings.
Uh, well, yeah, that and money, I guess. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, that's
when
how they
your
feel about money.
when your motivations are not, yeah, exactly how they feel about money. When your motivations are not truth, or truth and justice, then you're certainly not going to end up with either. You know,
So Steve has an article about the fingerprints. If you want to go deeper in that,
nice,
just played it in there.
nice.
And
Yeah, cue the
an
boat
article
bit.
about
Exactly.
naming
There you go,
sites
Sarah.
incorrectly.
We can plug the universe unveiled with the "We Have Boats." Oh,
We could, but we have so many media files in here now.
well, then don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And
Oh,
I
I
didn't
found it.
really. Go ahead. Go. Cue boats.
That's it. A little
That's right.
chanty.
That's all there is. A little sea shanty. That's precisely it. Yeah, thank you so far, guys. Rick, you said you didn't have anything else. I didn't really prepare anything else either. I'm always up for talking though, or reading the DeSoto Chronicles, as Ricardo and I have been pretty much pushing forward with a whole lot of reading, just trying to see what we can glean from these firsthand accounts. What you got, Vince? But much of I don't know, man. Much of my work right now is there's just a lot of catching up people got to do. So it's I'm not motivated just yet to keep putting out new when there's still so much to be caught up when Ricardo and I are enjoying this reading so much. So I'm happy to clue into that, Ricardo, if you're down for time. But otherwise, I didn't bring anything particular either.
Well, I wanted to clear up, hey, you're right. It turns out that the Great Pyramid of Cholula, Mexico, is the largest. Monk's Mound is actually only the third largest. So that's a correction now that I learned. So that's good. and so this is based on the height and the volume and the
Well, I
footprint.
think Monk's Mound is bigger, still bigger. It's still number two by square footage of the base, right? Because you've got more than 14 acres there at the footprint of Monk's Mound, with Giza
Yeah,
at 13.1. So
13.1.
yeah, even though Cholula takes number one, it still leaves Monk's Mound at number two for that. And Cholula
For the
is
footprint.
just abnormal, man. It's like, where did that, it's just way out there.
Yeah, so that's
It's like a
interesting.
mountain.
And I wonder if it's all man-made at Cholula, or if that's all.
It's said to be. I think there was, again, I don't have
Wow.
my Cholula history down pat here, but just what I remember is that there was a time when it was considered, a mountain or what have you. But I also know there's stuff, associating with it a primordial spring or well within it, just like all the other, mounds and pyramids around the world.
So
I remembered that basic trivia fact that it did have such a large footprint. That's all.
another interesting aspect that I also didn't notice, and I don't know if Rick knew it, it probably did, is that, and I went to see the mural. There is a mural in Pompeii from 15 AD to 30 AD depicting a pineapple. And I looked at it, and it's actually a pineapple. So there
Yeah,
aren't pineapples in there. You had to come from a tropical area, right? So
yeah,
you're talking about fruits and sweet potato and corn and all of these, but a pineapple.
yeah. Gunnar Thompson. Yeah, Gunnar Thompson alerted me to both that pineapple and
Excuse me.
someplace, I think it was in Herculaneum, uh, there was a chili pepper on the side of what they think was a restaurant. So they had red chilies and they had pineapples and they had polenta. So they therefore had maize because you can't make it out of anything else. Barleycorn almost, but not quite. So yeah,
Well,
there was trade. Now whether the Romans were trading directly or they were going through a middleman is my question, because they, Fortunate Isles or whatever they wanted to call this land far to the west, they didn't have enough information about it to actually describe it.
someone did.
Anyway, someone did, yeah. I think they were probably speaking Phoenician.
Yes. Well, I see the proposition that the Romans were bringing it from India. I think if they are going into the east, it's much likely they got it from China than from India, because China were much bigger sailors than Indians. In my perspective, I might be wrong in that, but the
Well,
fleets of
yeah,
the
but that
Chinese.
doesn't mean that when I think of the Phoenicians, I'm not thinking of the leaders of uh, Carthage or Cadiz or
You think of
Tyre. I'm
sailors.
thinking
You
of the
think of
people on the
sailors.
ship. Yeah, yeah, precisely. And they were the UPS of their age, so to speak. What can Brown do for you except drop DNA? We don't allow them to drop DNA.
Hmm.
So
What we got there?
this article is from Tom Emerson. He used to be the president of the Illinois Historic Preservation Agency. So this is basically to show on Monk's Mound that he wrote this article, and he said his conclusion was any excavation would be more damaging than just letting it be, and he was proposing a non-dig method for preserving it. He said basically just don't dig into it, leave it as is. And this was specifically pertaining to the two parts that they dug up. So he said, in his judgment, it is likely to the best solution just to leave it like it is, and publish this article about that before the excavations occurred. And he even had proposed stabilization remedies. Everything about this particular site was detailed here in this article, and his conclusion was not to do anything with excavating it.
Well, Vince, I'm no engineer, but I think even a fishing net on top of the mound would have created much more sustainability than tires on top of plastic or backhoes taking the earth down, causing even more slide of the land. Right? That is the things that make no sense.
Yeah, and he said it did they should not dig it up. So yeah, I mean he's agreeing, and this is the conclusion that was reached before they did the work. So at some
Well,
point they completely went away from the president of the IHPA's own recommendation.
probably was ill informed.
Yeah, so it's just interesting to see the different varieties
But the
of.
thing is, in terms of someone, Steve was asking, what's the next step? And my additional question is, if they fail to follow the very protocols that were supposed to be observed in this maintenance project, possibly even a maintenance that wasn't required or shouldn't be done, if they fail on those proceedings, what can a civilian or an organization do to bring not only this place, this space, this park into safe hands, and even to take the power of those that did it? Because I know that these guys that aren't there now are not the same that did that, correct?
Well, right, no, Bill Eisminger's no longer there. Mark Essery, um, well, so they have completely new staff. But yeah, the question is he still in charge? Well, Tom Emerson is still there. So I think he may have stop this from happening again. But it sounds like what's the next steps? I mean, the IHPA and the request that I've filed for information, they're going to issue another 1,500 pages of information on Monday. And so once I get that, I'll be able to get more information, and hopefully this will be they'll make a effort to preserve the mound, to do the surveys like they were supposed to be doing, and monitor it and maintain it, but don't dig it up. I mean, the goal is not to dig it up; it's just to preserve it for the future.
So just clear this for me. You said before that they determined there is no archaeological value to the site, but now this group wants to preserve it. Preserve what if there has no archaeological value, according to their appreciation?
I think they're going to need to admit that they were wrong. That it's a Monk's Mound. It's an archaeological site. It's a World Heritage Site. So yeah, like Steve said, they violated the law and the UNESCO guidelines. This is a World Heritage Site. They dug it up and with backhoes, and then they claimed to be doing so that it's not a site. There's no archaeological value as their justification. But they said, other than the fact that they dug it up, they're ignoring anything they dug up. So it's really strange.
So
Yeah, I mean,
what?
everybody admits that they did it. Just talking to Sarah there in sort of in chat, like everybody, even in archaeology, like they're like, yeah, they did this and it was for this reason and it was appropriate. Now, like now, but what I think Vince is pointing out quite well here is that at the time they weren't following procedure and they didn't have things necessary in place for this to be a legal move, really. I mean, does it matter now? Will they admit they were wrong? Right? Will they go, "Hey, we screwed up"? I mean, I'm waiting on a government entity to do that. I haven't. I'm not holding my breath. I haven't seen it. Um, they don't do that for
Well,
obvious
they
reasons.
can do, since they were not the ones in power when this happened. So they
No
might do it for
liability,
that
bro.
reason.
They'd rather stay closed. The liability that comes with admitting fault, and then the precedent that is set, right? Because as soon as one admits fault for something, then guess what? Every other systematic institution is open for the exact same bar that's now been set with precedent, right? So there's probably a lot of reasons this damn museum isn't open, if we're honest about it.
Well, if they don't have any PCs, that's why they only have a gift shop and the lobby open, because they don't have anything to exhibit. So,
Right.
Well, that
But,
and
you know, they
this
did have a
request.
movie
Go ahead.
screen. They could show movies, but
Well, and the interesting thing is they used to have air conditioning and lighting and a they had a dehumidifier. Well, that apparently is no longer functioning. So whatever they had before, when I was a volunteer there, when I volunteered from around 2004 to 2007, they those things are no longer functional. And I think, well, in order to renovate the museum, those are necessary to keep the humidity at the right level for the artifacts and clothing, textiles, and preservation of the material.
So obviously they didn't bought that on Costco
No,
because they
and
could just go there and trade it for a new one. So that was a bad move from their part.
Well, I'm fine with a museum, dude. I'm fine with a museum having a completely fake diorama, right? Like, just sort of and what I mean by fake is not actual items, right? That's what I mean by fake, but a still true to life representation of what perhaps life on, at time of habitation these sites were like. I mean, that's why is that against any rule? That to me is an excellent use of the space, and it doesn't require any and it eliminates having any actual artifacts.
The education on indigenous cultures doesn't require to have real objects on display. It just requires to have objects on display and representations and images and maquettes
So
so
they
that
can't
people,
represent what life was like at a museum about the place.
well, they
well,
can.
no, they could. Again, we get back to what the tribe wants to be on display, wants to be public. And if it in some way displays a cultural aspect that they don't want to share, then it can't be displayed
Hmm.
because they have that say.
Okay.
you know,
Except for a couple of interesting museums that are actually owned by Native Americans uh, who really don't like that aspect of NAGPRA. They want people to know what they were like. And in this case, I believe he's Osage and Shawnee mix, but I could be wrong about that. But he has a museum of Native American history, Mona, in Arkansas, and it's a very well constructed and uh, let's see, equipped and a, appointed museum that tells history because Native American history, as well as some prehistory. But mostly the objects are real. You get to see the real thing. You're not going to see remains. No, that's just wrong. But some of
Sure.
the other objects, which probably are ritualistic in nature, are part of the culture, and he wants to show them. So let him. Please leave him alone.
Of course, but this museum could show how they live, what they sow, what they harvest.
well, they did have a lot of things on display, like the artifacts on the site and they had things like the silkworm effigy cocoon. They had a silkworm effigy on display. They had a lot of arrowheads and banner stones. But this is what I've discovered really the three traditions that compare and really clarify why Monk's Mound had all this colored soil. Well, Nanabojo had this legend of the earth diver. Water beetle, like I mentioned, had another legend, the earth diver. And the earth maker, this is the Siouan legend of the Ho Chunk, Winnebago, and the Osage, Quapaw, and Kansas. They had this uh, earth maker, earth creator. And so all these things correlate, and they show that they had legends and myths about creating the world by diving down in the earth. These two earth divers are diving down, grabbing the soil and bringing it back and making the world. And so the site really correlates with Algonquian, Iroquois, and Siouan tribal legends. and the earth from the site that actually comes from these locations as well. So it's like validating the fact that they brought the soil these long distances to build the mound from all over the country, and that these are the tribal legends that correlate to that.
Know anything about this, Rick? The murder of the giant chestnut trees in Appalachia that helped plunge the U.S. into Great Depression and starvation. You are muted, Rick. I don't know if you're talking.
Chestnut was once a major contributing deciduous tree here in the United States, and it was everywhere basically, and it was massive. And now it's pretty much eradicated, nearly
Almost.
non-existent.
There,
Yeah,
there are efforts to rehabilitate the population. Butternut too. That one's even harder because there are even fewer of those.
yeah. It would have been even a much different place back then. Just the forests, you know. When you look at the size of the trees, you know, that used to be here, and I don't
Well,
just
yeah,
mean the
but
redwoods.
nuts, peanuts specifically provided about
Mm,
40% of the meal that they used to make, various and sundry cereal products,
yes,
their
yes.
version of bread and whatnot. They would use particularly white oak and bur oak uh, acorns and roast them and then grind up the nut meat to make a flour that they use to make their products. I know that in particular because I researched the background when I did an exploration dig at the mouth of my cave where I found tons and tons and tons of acorn horns capped,
Hmm.
but no meat.
Okay, just the corn.
Yeah, so chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Jack Frost nipping at your nose.
Guess what came
Anyway,
next? The Great Depression. Yeah, that's about right. That's about right.
So, Vince, one of the things I still haven't understood is how did we pass from it's too big for us to answer you to we are going to send you these several tens of thousands of pages.
It's
Oh,
What
right.
changed?
fishy. It's
What
fishy.
changed?
Well, last week they had sent me that email saying they were not going to send us too much pages. They said it's an unduly burden. Well, then this week they just sent it on Monday. They sent the first one, and they just must have had a discussion and decided to send it in two batches. And the first batch said we will send the next 1,200 pages next Monday. And so, I mean, I
So
think they must have had some kind of internal discussion to change their mind about that.
is there someone in there that is well intended and is thinking, well, if this fellow wants to expose this, let's just send him the material. You think
I,
that could be the chance?
I think so. Well, when I corresponded with the site about the survey data, they were very forthcoming and they said they supplied this information, that they were supportive of doing the surveys and that they plan to do it in 2027 or 2028. So I think the site realizes the importance of it, and I think they might have pushed for sending the information.
Hmm. Amy saying that they also knew that you wouldn't leave them alone.
Well, I mean, it's been a long time coming. I mean, I asked them for this. They delayed it week after week after week, and then finally decided to send it after saying it was an unduly burden. So, I mean, but I've got the information, and um, there's going to be, hopefully study that can be done to follow up about it.
Sure, I'm expecting a full paper that we can publish on our academia. So I think you
Yes, and
have
it's just so
work
much
to do.
information. It's really deep, really good and exciting information to find out about. And all the different soil colors, their origins, the vast distances that had to been covered to bring this to the site are just incredible to think of, that they would have had to dig this soil up from marshes or underwater and excavate it and then bring it all the way to Cahokia. How did they bring it there? I mean, did they use canoes or rafts, or did they carry it in baskets for literally more? They had to go at least 200 kilometers. There's no local sources near the site that are within 200 kilometers that have the same color soil. So it's
And
incredible.
they answered you in kilometers. Is that it?
Um, the 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 distance. I mean, I'm just saying what it is in kilometers, but it could
Okay,
be used in miles or
sure. It's 120 miles. I'm just curious
yeah.
if they decided, well, just to be confusing, if they're getting you numbers in kilometers. That's
No. I mean that, but I mean, like Steve said, yeah, we need local support. We hope to contact the news media. We hope to get this story out there, writing letters to the editor, or get more media coverage about this, because it's really, it's in a major important site in the country, and it's even though it may be number two in the world, it's still like one of the largest sites in the world, and the largest mounds in the Americas, north of Mexico, and it's an incredible site. It's so it's so underrated. There's not. I mean, when I was growing up, I never heard about it in school. I didn't even know about it after I went there and just started volunteering after college. That's when I first heard about it. So it's like they don't teach this stuff in school.
what for. There's no archaeological value in there. So it's a good backhoe training ground,
It's
but
yeah. Oh my gosh, they had said it was no adverse
That's
effect. They weren't.
Alabama's philosophy. You do construction on native mounds for sure. I
Yeah,
see
they
it's
just dig it up
transferred
with
to Illinois.
backhoes, and
uh,
hopefully it
you
will be
you
preserved.
do, sorry, you do. Sarah Bradley was asking way up in the chat, and I believe you do have images of them using the backhoe, right?
Yes, I have a lot of images of the actual backhoe, and I can bring those up if you give me a minute here.
And she's also saying now, sourced from abandoned channels of the Mississippi River to
Um,
bring Rick.
Not necessarily the Mississippi River, but from all over the country. There's
The blue gray clay came from Clay County, Indiana, near the Wabash. The red clay probably came from northwest Georgia at Etowah Mounds area. The yellow clay probably came from northern north central Wisconsin near Fredonia, just because I happen to know the place. The white one, I said, like I said earlier, one of them is in question. I think it might have come all the way from New Mexico. But so we can identify a whole bunch of them. And I could identify the Clay County just from eyesight. And I did 20 years ago.
Yeah, you're
But
absolutely right.
And can
so
that be proved by chemical testing?
Yeah,
it can be proved by microscopy.
Hmm. Even though it's almost 1,000 years back, you can still do it.
Yes.
But yeah, it doesn't change the crystalline structure of the silicas or any of the other stuff that's in it. So, we just need a new and improved Scott Walter.
What happened to the old one? Oh, wait a minute.
What is that? Oh, the excavators.
Yeah, these are the pictures of the mounds. I'm going to try to share each picture here, and how they dug it up. And so, for example, Well, this is what it looked like on the top of the mound when the excavators were digging it up. All these different colored soil patterns were in the mound, and they took the excavators and they basically dumped the mound in a dump truck, and then drove it down the street, dumped it into piles. These
Vincent, you
piles
need
were
to try to blow up those pictures if you can.
okay. I'm gonna
No,
try.
the details are very big, but the image isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Okay, I'm gonna
details
try
are
to.
what we're seeing, but yeah, especially that first one I thought was cool. A great picture where you had the sunset and you could see the backhoe on top, but nobody else could see that. So if you could go back and show that one
Okay,
bigger.
just a second. I'm gonna try to share that screen. Okay, there.
So Sarah Blade is saying sounds like the four sacred colors already, but it's much more than just four, right?
So yeah, there's more than four. There was like 80 different colors found in the mound, and
Someone is it's so D Love is saying a continental tribal meeting or some kind of a mound representation all the areas.
I'm sorry. What's the question?
That's okay. Focus on what you're doing, Vincent.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Let me see if I can address that one.
Yeah, go for
What
it.
I think each of the colors represents is a different satellite entity of the whatever the polity was that was Cahokia. And Monk's Mound was the capital of the continent. And each of the colors represents another city within this political system. Etowah, Angel Mounds, probably all the way down into Alabama, Louisiana, North Georgia, Central Georgia, maybe as far as the panhandle of Florida, Pensacola, because all the platform mounds are made basically the same way at the same time. So when you find some of that white sand from Florida at Cahokia, you know that connection was made and that has been found already. There you go, that one, that silhouette of that excavator.
Oh, here, I'll go back. Okay, there.
So you think it's some kind of a tribute of all the areas controlled by that largest city state or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, slow down, Vincent.
Tribute, some real world connection, a representation of a political tie that
I see.
and probably trade tie and cultural tie and religious tie and everything else, but kind of like having a U.S. flag on your local post office. Except that the post office sent them a box of dirt.
Yes.
So when they dug into the mound, they found all these colored layers and the modeled soil, and there was limestone slabs and a red cedar post as well. And so this was the charnel house at the center of the mound. This is literally the size of the mound is 100 feet high, and they were parking their cars and vehicles all over the mound, digging it up with backhoes, and each of these cuts is about 7 feet. So they stepped it down 7-foot intervals into the mound, and they excavated over. Initially, their 2,400 cubic meters was the volume that they dug out of this. They were not supposed to cut down into the mound more than 2 feet, but they dug more than 7 feet.
And why do they have the tarp? That's like such a half-hearted effort. Digging a big ass fucking hole in the mound and we'll tarp it.
It's for the earth doesn't slide, Jason. Don't you understand what they're trying to do? Stop the earth from sliding. So if you take all the earth out, it won't slide anymore.
They piled up this mound on top of the mound with the dirt right above their excavation. That's not very smart, but that's what they did. They kept on digging and then piling it up here behind the truck and then or the backhoes, and then they just kept on cutting down into the
Yeah, they
mound.
went all the way to the fucking bottom, didn't they? I mean, that's
It was close.
the motivations were not what they said.
Yeah, and I mean they left this parked on the mound. The Ann Hacker was the head of the deputy of the IHPA, and she said she was shocked and couldn't believe that they did this. She's the one that signed the no adverse effect permit. So she was totally shocked. She was unaware this was going to happen, had no idea.
So, but she signed the permit. So
Yeah,
you're
she
just saying she did. She's claiming she didn't know the extent of what they were doing when she signed the permit.
right. She didn't. She said in her response in the email that she did not have any idea. She was shocked that this was happening. She didn't know what was going on. She said they need to propose a remediation plan immediately and stop work. So she stopped the work at that time, and it was literally 3 days after the excavation started that these pictures were taken and circulated. So they just went at it and for 3 days, and then she stopped the work and told them give me a remediation plan, put it back, and
That
get your
picture. Go back. I like that picture. Go back
this
one.
one.
That's the one. Yeah, and then zoom in if you can. Yeah, that's the one I've been wanting to. It's just so great because you've got them all there. You've got this massive hole. They're digging out of the side, and you've got one on top at sunset. You know, just chilling
Yeah.
there, looking at the view. It's craziness, man.
Yeah,
It's craziness, Vincent.
absolutely.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Thank you in the chat, Sarah Brayley, for the question for looking for the bulldozers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lot more than 7 feet. None of this makes any sense to me. I'll give you that, Sarah. I mean, from an outside objective opinion, and I've looked at what the other guys say about why they do it, and I know everybody's got this pretty calming story they tell you about the slumping, you know. And while I have not conducted the gravitational effects on clay tests myself, I'm very dubious when I see a pile of dirt dug all the way to its core. And as you point out, Vincent, shit piled on top that, you know, it just, the story doesn't add, it doesn't stick. Something else was involved. Something, I don't know what it was. I'm not accusing, but there's something fucking else going on there, dude.
Yeah, even any excavation in normal construction wouldn't pile soil above the excavation like that, because if they're worried about it collapsing, that's that's the even bigger risk of collapsing. And they shouldn't be parking the vehicles on the mound anyway. But
How
the
many
point is,
tons does that backhoe weigh? If the
yeah,
mound was collapsing or subsiding, do you think they would put something that is at least, what, 10 tons, Rick? That backhoe? 10 tons?
I would guess it's closer to 20.
To 20, okay. I didn't want to exaggerate because I didn't know. I really don't know. So 20 tons
I
on
just,
top of something that they say
yeah,
it's collapsing. It doesn't make much sense.
yeah.
right.
And well, this mound was at least 1,000 years old, and it had not collapsed. I think what they were looking at is surface erosion, and they call it slumping. But the fact that they had put down plastic sheeting and tires back in the 70s did not help. This would have kept water in and not allowed it to properly drain like it was designed for. So while it was designed to hold water, it was only designed to hold the amount of water that it originally had, not to hold plastic sheeting around the mound.
Well, if you break, if you break what I think it was Rick that described this almost fired clay on top of the earth that would isolate the bottom part from the water and would remove the excess of the water in the earth itself on top of that layer. If you break that rigid layer, then water will start to infiltrate in the middle that was never made to hold water in it, and that can cause serious damage. Even I think that if they created those pottery-like layer, it is because they want to protect whatever it's buried in that to keep it dry, right? Either bodies or artifacts. It's to protect that.
No, I disagree. I think they wanted to keep it wet because then the organic remains will be in an annex. I can't say the word. Non-oxygen environment because it's
Anaerobic
underwater.
and
Thank you. Yeah,
I can't say the
anaerobic.
word. Anaerobic. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hmm.
that's just my hypothesis because they knew that remains would last almost indefinitely without any oxygen in
Oh,
the tomb.
okay. I understand what you're saying. Okay. So they are isolating that from the air.
And the pottery or fired clay, whatever you want to call it, would also possibly serve the function as neutralizing acid in the water that does get in there.
Hmm. By some kind of filtration, is that what you're saying?
Well, that in the limestone, it would just neutralize it.
Hmm. Well, we'll do whatever we can to keep helping Vince and
Thank
pushing
you.
this forward. Uh, and this is the kind of thing that the institute likes to do. So it's to preserve, and that's why we have Vince on that position.
Right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
No better man for the job. So let's see what else we can find. Well, you did magnificent work in managing for them to change their mind, and it's a lot of paper you'll have to look into for the next week or two or three. It's 53,000 pages. It's
Right.
a
So,
lot of material.
Well, it's
yeah.
just a practice session for when it gets on the Smithsonian soon.
Yes. Give me my giants back.
Giants?
There are
What?
none.
I've got to.
There are none. There are no giants at the Smithsonian. They're all sold to private collections or destroyed or burned.
Yeah. I know
They,
we're a
they
couple
wouldn't,
buried.
they're too smart to keep that kind of evidence still on their vaults. I think. I might be wrong.
Well, one way to find out. Let us in there. It's our museum, right?
No, it's not even the governance museum. It doesn't recognize even American law.
I mean, as Americans, it's our museum, right? It's supposed to be. That's supposed to be.
It isn't. It's
That's what
independent.
Dr. Smithson wanted it. It wanted to be the People's Museum, but he couldn't give the money to the government without it going into the general fund. He should have just built it and, financed it.
Well, according to our Constitution, we should have already overthrown our government by now. So, I mean, what really counts anymore?
Yeah, but I think that would lead into greater chaos.
You're not aware of the chaos enough, then, bro. You're not aware of the evils that are afoot. If you think that we shouldn't listen to Thomas Jefferson, who said, FYI, every generation, 25, 30 years, you're going to kind of need to do what we're doing here. Otherwise, you're going to lose this stuff.
Yeah, that involves too many loss of life because there are still those that want to protect it, and those that want to protect it hold the power of the military. So
Yeah, it's just about that's right, getting rid of the centralization, man. I mean, that's what he was talking about foreseeing was that, over time you're going to have the power is going to want to coalesce and centralize. That's what it always wants to do. And if you're going to keep the system we're trying to set up here, you're going to have to take this revolutionary spirit and whatever that means in time, whatever transcends from each generation to generation, you're going to have to reapproach it with this fastidious nature that we have to try to keep these powers from coalescing. That's what he was saying, not like bloody revolution, but see, we're too far now, right? Like we went too many damn generations without seeing to it, and by the time everybody's now aware and starting to sort of wake up to the fact that we're in the hands of something insidious, I mean, it's a little too late. By the time you realize the flock camera is bad, they've already moved on.
Yeah, but
The tech is far more advanced, and it's like, how do we do it now? How do we do what Thomas Jefferson said now, without some sort of
yeah, but
nastiness?
how many crazy, bat crazy groups armed to the teeth would just expect something like that to create total havoc,
I'm
right?
not suggesting it, but the thing is, name me another way that we could do it, right?
What happened to the good old slap in the face? Behave yourself, right? The power of the masses, just that.
Separation of dude, the separation of the elites and the masses has become too disparate. When all you do is put elites in power, people who live in totally different realities than the mass and have for their whole families and generations, right? You're gonna have this divide, and it's only gonna grow. And I mean, it's kind of common sense, You put somebody that's not from your world in charge of you, pretty soon you're not going to recognize your fucking world. You know.
Yeah, Steve says that the average American will not risk their lives or property to revolt. The only change
No,
is the states taking action to a new political party that is completely organized differently.
yeah,
And then it will fall again in the same, as you were saying, every
they're
20
laughing at
years.
us now because they know what we'll swallow, man. I mean, look, still we're not allowed to talk these subjects we talk about, or like we have to like fight to just try to get basic shit out, man.
Uh, Someone asking Vince before we close here, we're getting pretty close to the mark. So Sarah Bradley was asking if you have contacted. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? The chat is moving so fast. Have you gone through public access counselor PAC?
Oh, no, I went through FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, and filed the request directly through that. But
Hmm.
yeah, I saw that.
That did the trick.
Yeah, there were some good questions there about, hey, if we could get additional data about their daily logs during the excavation, the supervisor logs. Well, they didn't send that information. They sent a report that was published several years later, but nothing from that particular time
Hmm.
for supervisor logs. And the other interesting thing I found was the soil cores they took and the carbon dates from those soil cores were above the repair zones. All the radiocarbon dates that were from around 1000 to 1400 AD were soil that was dated above that burned clay layer. So not original subs, not below the burned clay, but above that. So that indicates that the mound is older than that, and the burned clay layer was a transition between the slumped area and the original mound.
Hmm.
So there's a chance that the mound, I mean, the likelihood is that the mound predates that burned clay layer and predates the 1000 to 1400 AD time frame that they carbon dated.
Right.
So it makes it really interesting because the mound could be archaic. Like they found
It
a
is
canine
interesting.
burial on the top of the mound, a dog burial that Paul Parlomy said was archaic. They radiocarbon dated it to the late archaic, and then T.R. Kidder, the guy who did this excavation, didn't include that in his report. And
Steve is saying for you to save this site. It's on the chat.
okay, Attorney General, yes, that's good.
Fear is the emotion they farm, harvest, and feed on. Absolutely. One of the primary ones. Matt, thank you.
Yes, that's a good point.
2 hours.
There is a cure to that, though. And the cure is to be fearless.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, if you're not.
Completely true. Fear is a liar. But yeah, that's it. To be immune to it, guys. Don't fall into the fear trap. Don't let the sickness. Don't catch the fear. I think I'm getting the fear.
So, as a final
final goodbye, Sarah Braley.
Just remember the Set in Stone Megalithic Conference, Saturday, August 8, 2026, between 11 and 7 p.m. in Putnam Country Veterans Memorial Park. It's free and open to the public. You can submit your tickets by a link somewhere that I don't have here, but I think you'll find it on the Unique Explorer. You'll find it on Facebook, X. I'm hoping that this is a success because it was done with a lot of hard work and a lot of love to prepare this with information that is not openly given to the public, and especially not taught in school. There will be several people speaking, so recommending everyone if you are in the area. It's not every day you have a free conference. And it even have a space for kids where they can listen to stories and be occupied. So recommending that. We had George Howard on Universe Unveiled on this past Wednesday. He's having interesting projects. Some of them are pretty close to some of the projects we have at the Institute, although somewhat indifferent in nature. We just streamed our.
Are you saying we've got copycats?
No, we're saying that probably the lines of wisdom converging give similar results. I'm being as polite as I can.
Okay.
Good save.
Got it.
What did Rick say? I didn't understand it.
Rick said good save. Imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Of flattery, yes. I'm not saying it's the case because we can reach the same conclusions by, although it somewhat dismisses diffusionism, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes
we're here first. We can say that. That's a fact. We're here doing these things first. Yeah, I mean.
No, but I'm glad because I even heard in this interview that they are now planning on doing shows where they read text and then debate about them.
Great. The only difference is they've got money. I mean, so that's cool if they want to copy us and let us also, get the promo from all their money that they have. That's cool.
I wouldn't put it like that. George is it's very hardworking in creating the dissemination of knowledge that he's been working for many years. We don't need to agree in everything he believes in or not, but at least he's doing something to try and educate people on what he thinks it's best. And we can't ask for anything more. If it is right or wrong, it's not for me to judge.
No, I'm not talking negatively about anyone. You know that. I love working with everyone, especially people that have the money to help get this material out to people because, we're doing.
And we are in different areas. He's in impact. He's in real fringe and not fringe historical facts.
Of course.
We are in different areas, so we don't clash with one another.
That's good to know.
Yeah, we don't clash. Our subjects don't even overlap because they're not looking at what we are looking, and vice versa. And although we are very appreciative of what they do because it adds on to our knowledge. Um, and as I was saying, and we are finishing. We only have two more chapters on the Stardust, on the Shaman and the Philosopher. The next will be determinism versus free will. We just did catastrophism versus uniformitarianism. Wow, I managed
Yes,
to say
you
it.
did it.
Um,
And we'll pick that up sometime after you arrive back on this continent.
yes,
Okay.
all the gods willing, which I hope I can come return. They allow me in. I hope so. Um, and I think that's pretty much it. Uh, you still, I think Patreon still has Lost America there, where people can go, right, Rick? So strongly recommending that. Go ahead.
Yes, it's still there. 12 episodes.
You won't find that information elsewhere, that's for sure. And those people,
Well,
real
not in such
heroes
a
that,
compact and well packaged form.
yeah. No, I'm just saying that those are to me real heroes in terms of digging the history of America, and they are not known by most people precisely because they are masters of what they're talking and very difficultly debated. And so it's people that they don't want to openly. Although good news is that AGSL with I don't know. If she, I'm gonna call her Doctor Georgia, although she never signed the doctor name or even never asked for that name. She's now actually the director of AGSL uh, preservation area or records area, and they are now interested after receiving from the materials that have been selected on AES, Ancient Earthwork Society, they now also want the reports. So they first said they weren't
Cool.
interested in the reports, just the maps. But now they want the maps, they want the reports. They are preparing classes to show to students the maps from Jim Shears and to study the reports done for those maps. They want to learn how he did these maps. So all of that are excellent news because you won't find work like that anywhere else. Um, so that's good. And AGSL is the second biggest repository of maps in the USA, only second to the Library of Congress.
USG, yeah.
Yes. So that is good. And I'm hoping for more projects for Ancient Earthwork Society. And that's a positive. And I think that's it. I have nothing yet to add. So if anybody has anything to add, please do.
Well, congratulations. That's a big step.
Yes, it's very good. And Georgia, she's very open, very interested. Um, she doesn't take any sides. She's not concerned about what archaeologists think or don't think. She's only interested in the data, which is wonderful. And the teachers seem to be interested in data, and there are several students now interested in the data too. The problem is just the politics of what can be public and what can't. But still, they are preparing classes with no cell phones, nothing that can be recorded, and they can look at the maps and they can look at the reports. They can't photograph them or report them in any way, but some places need to be preserved in that way. So at least they can be seen and looked at, and something can be learned from them. Others are completely open, so they will be soon available for everybody to download. Each map is about from 1 gigabyte to 7 gigabytes, the maps that Jim Shears created, once they are properly scanned and digitalized. And they will soon be available to everybody to go and look for those that are be able to be public. So That's to me that's magnificent, and that's the work, the hard work from Tom Solberg and Gary Myers that have been pushing this for at least 2 to 3 years, um, and that's excellent. So let's see where that leads. Of course, nothing would be possible without Jim Shears creating the maps, having 60 years of working on it. But
Yeah, I was wondering how long it was going to take you to get to that part, but um, yeah, it just so happens I'm going to Monday. I'm mailing Jim a copy of a map that was compiled in 1999, but I have cited parts of that map, details from that map, in I don't know, probably 15 of the articles I wrote for Ancient American. And Jim has often asked me about the origin of those details, so I'm going to send him a copy of the whole map.
it's magnificent how a person at his age is more active than an archaeologist in his 20s. And you've been with him
Yeah,
these days, and you know he's constantly paper in hand and taking notes and doing calculations and
yes.
writing down new ideas and constantly. So at 90 years old, so it's just and incredible. It's a mind like
Well, in
very
that three
few.
weeks, yeah, in that 3 weeks I spent with him, starting in late June, I guess it was, mid June, whatever it was. Um, he filled one 5 subject ring bound and started on a second one in that 3 weeks. So yeah,
There's an example to follow.
that yeah, that is the right example. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, guys, it has been a
Guys, thank
wonderful
you.
evening. Thank you for having me,
Thank
Jason.
you. Let me go back to the chat. Yes, thank you. Wonderful people in the chat. Thank you very much for all your comments and interactions. And we hope to see you all in a week. So, thank you all. A very fond farewell. Thank you very much.